What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, President Biden just gave an interview here about Ukraine joining NATO in the future here. And well, he finally confirms what a lot of people were thinking here. I'll let you hear the interview here and then we'll talk about it. And for some people, it's might be a good thing. For a lot of people, it's going to be, this is going to be a significant delay. And Russia, Putin is going to be like, yeah, this is going to be a good thing for Putin. I'll let you hear what Biden has to say. Take a listen here and let me know your thoughts here in the comments.
You've said that Ukraine shouldn't enter NATO until after the war is over. Are you concerned at all that those comments could motivate Putin to keep the war going or discourage him from entering peace negotiations? And is there a serious risk that this war could drag on for years? And do you see any path toward the war ending with Putin still in power?
First of all, no one can join NATO while a war is going on, where a NATO nation is being attacked, because that guarantees that we're in a war, and we're in a third world war. So that it's not about whether or not they should or shouldn't join. It's about when they can join, and they will join NATO. The issue of whether or not this is going to keep Putin from continuing to fight, the answer is Putin's already lost the war. Putin has a real problem. How does he move from here? What does he do? And so the idea that there's going to be what vehicle is used, he could end the war tomorrow. He could just say, I'm out. But what agreement is ultimately reached depends upon Putin and what he decides to do. But there is no possibility of him winning the war in Ukraine. He's already lost that war. Imagine anyway, he's already lost that war.
Just on the question of a concern about it going on for years, is there a possibility that there's a stalemate in this becoming?
I'm sorry?
The question of whether the war could go on for years, is there a possibility there's a stalemate and it can continue for quite some time?
Well, I don't think the war can go on for years for two reasons. Number one, I don't think that that Russia could maintain the war forever, number one, in terms of their resources and capacity. Number two, I think that there is going to be a circumstance where eventually President Putin is going to decide it's not in the interest of Russia, economically, politically, or otherwise, to continue this war. But I can't predict exactly how that happens. My hope is, and my expectation is, you'll see that Ukraine makes significant progress on their offensive, and that it generates a negotiated settlement somewhere along the line.
And I have a question for the Finnish president, but I would be remiss if I didn't raise my colleague Evan Gershkovich, who's been in prison for more than 100 days. I just wondered if you had an update on the process for trying to get him out of prison, and if you're serious about a prisoner exchange.
Well, I'm serious about prisoner exchange. I'm serious about doing all we can to free Americans from being illegally held in Russia or anywhere else for that matter. And that process is underway.
So, President Biden finally confirms what a lot of us have been thinking is that they're not going to let Ukraine in while the war is going on. Yeah. So, this is a significant blow for Ukraine, and this crushes their hopes, and this also presents maybe a significant victory for Putin in that he can delay the war for who knows how long. This could go on for years. Also here we have the other problem. Almost kind of the reverse situation here has happened with Finland and Sweden. Finland right on the border, well, really kind of both countries right on the border, the upper part there of Russia, both having joined NATO, because what they say is that Russia and Putin forced them to join NATO. Take a listen here.
Ukraine is forcing its neighbor Finland to rush toward the embrace of NATO and the U.S. Just 1 month after joining NATO, Finland hosting its new allies for war games, learning how to fight together, and sending a clear message to Moscow. Finland's foreign minister telling NBC News that these days her country has almost no relationship with Russia.
You can't have a normal relationship with a country that is actively waging a war, not complying with international law.
But it wasn't always like this. For years, Finland and Sweden, just like Switzerland, prided themselves on neutrality, steering clear of conflicts between major powers. But look what's happened since Russia invaded Ukraine last year. Russia's border with NATO countries more than doubled. NATO's territory set to expand by more than 300,000 square miles, including Sweden. The U.S. troop presence in Europe surged to 100,000 for the first time in decades, with 40,000 NATO troops deployed to Russia's doorstep. And Russia's neighbors increasingly convinced that Moscow is a threat not just to Ukraine, but to them.
It's really incredible how public opinion has changed. You know, when you look at Sweden and Finland, they were like 25% over decades in favor of NATO membership. With Russia's aggression, public opinion has changed. 80% Finland and Sweden are now in favor of NATO membership.
Finland was invaded by the former Soviet Union back in 1939. But for decades, its 830-mile border with Russia has been calm. These days, the signs of a growing rupture are everywhere. Beyond hosting those military exercises, both on land and in air, Moscow and Helsinki are kicking out each other's diplomats. Russia shutting down Finland's consulate in St. Petersburg. Visits between their militaries designed to build trust now canceled. In southeast Finland, a statue of revolutionary leader Vladimir Lenin dismantled, while Finland begins building a border fence and tightening rules on Russian citizens crossing the border.
How tense is the situation now on the Russia-Finland border?
We have always had this long border with Russia, and unfortunately we have also been in a situation where we have had to defend our country against Russian invasion. We are not concerned. We are prepared.
See, honestly, I'm surprised it took Finland this long to join NATO, because they've been a little wary about Russia for a long time, especially because Russia invaded Finland back in 1939 and 1940, right before World War II, or actually kind of part of World War II. It's called the Winter War. You can look it up. And despite Russia having the much larger military, Finland actually did pretty well and caused significant injury, significant blow to the Russian army. Yeah, called the Winter War. You can look it up. It was a very, very devastating war, and in almost kind of similar circumstances to what happened in Ukraine. You can see here, before the war, Soviet leadership expected total victory within a few weeks. Sound familiar? And you can kind of scroll here, or I'll scroll here too. It took the Soviet Union 3 months and over 1 million men to accomplish what they expected to accomplish. Think about Ukraine here now. We're almost at 1.5 years, and Russia is nowhere near taking over all of Ukraine. In fact, this right here is about the extent of what Russia has taken over here. And honestly, this is largely, in fact, they've probably lost some ground here from what they maybe took over here at the beginning of the war. So they have largely not taken back much ground here at all recently. They've actually lost some ground from what they took back in their kind of surprise at the beginning. So yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. If you haven't yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos as well. Click here to see a video about China hacking the US government right now. Or the Fed just warned that the new Great Depression is happening or starting right now. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.